Hold on for a second. We are here. We are live. Let me get rid of this thing off the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our side of the table. How's everybody doing?
All right.
I am
Doing.
I am Jay Guevara, and I gotta do the whole intro thing. What's up, robot?
Hey,
Welcome to our side of the table, the podcast where we celebrate all things nerdy for independent comics to anime and everything in between. I'm Jay Guevara. The one to the left of me is Robot Ocelot, and the guy with the beard and Scully on is the Runaway Vagabond. And on each episode, we will dive into the world of creators, artists, and fans to bring these stories to life. Whether you die hard comic book fan or just discovering your inner geek, this place is for you. So power up, tune in, and let's get into our side of the table. All right. And today's guest is Mr. Robert Jeffrey II. So for you guys who don't know who that is, he's a very popular writer here in Atlanta, Georgia. He actually wrote something for DC Comics. So he's pretty dope. He's out there. He's doing what he should be doing, and you should be too. You dig? So I am going to make sure I send him a request to his email address, and this way we could get started. But while we're doing that, how's everybody doing today? What you guys been watching lately?
uh,
Um. Oh, I think he boomered himself.
oh, okay. I'll let you start because I had it, but then I lost it.
um. Right now, I'm pretty soon. I'm gonna binge watch Sword Online Alternative Season 2
That's
for
right, they
Denji
did have
Online.
another season.
Yeah, it came out in October. I've been meaning to check it out, and I haven't got to it yet. So that's probably the next thing I'm checking out.
Okay.
Well, the good thing is, I don't have to wait every week. I can just watch episode after
Yeah,
episode.
that's usually what I try to do, but then sometimes I will forget an anime completely exists, and then somebody will remind me and be like, "That's right, I'm waiting for it to
Yeah,
finish."
but besides that, I'm waiting for Night of the Living Cat coming out later this year.
Night of the Living Cat. Is that an isekai?
No, it's a zombie movie. Well, it's a zombie anime. It's already a manga already, but pretty much cats turn to zombies and are attacking people, and that's pretty much the
Wait,
anime.
what?
And that's coming out in the spring?
I forget when it's coming out, but it's called Night of the Living Cat.
All right, I will
That
give it a
sounds like
listen.
something I want to. That sounds like something I want to.
Yeah, so it like take if you're familiar with the Night of the Living Dead video games and stuff, so
Hmm.
this is Night of the
Right.
Living Cat.
Okay. For the record, sound check is now back. We are not no longer having technical difficulties.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, it's basically a zombie apocalypse, but instead of humans becoming the zombies, it's cats or the zombies.
all right. Cool, cool, cool. I sent him the request, so we're just waiting on dude.
All right.
So if you guys ever been to Indie Comics Dispatch, this is the guy that we're interviewing today.
Alrighty.
Right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
already got a peek at his work.
He's
Very
dope though, ain't
comic
he?
booky. Yeah, it's the style that you think about when you, well, not exclusively, but it's one of the styles you think about when you think comic books, just because of the way he
Hmm.
does his like lines and also the shading that's like very dramatic in certain places, just like pure
No,
style.
he's a
Oh,
writer, not the
writer.
artist.
Sorry, I thought you said
Yeah.
my bad. Oh,
I'm
okay.
about to say like, oh
My
my
bad.
god, you better not say that when he gets in here. He's actually a dope writer if you take a look at his stuff. I know you're looking at the art aspect, but
Yeah, that's my
he is
brain. Yeah.
what I mean, but yeah, he's actually really, really dope. He does a lot of indie work.
Mm.
And I sat there like, yo, and the thing is in the circles out here, it's like, yo, like, bro, you're like dope. Like I went to Tony Cade's spot at Challenges Games and he had a whole book signing. And I'm like, when you know somebody, but you're not sure how you know them type of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. Like he's like, I'm like, yo, how do I know you? Like, and he's done a lot more stuff than just the DC things, right? Because I made that mistake too. Um, hold on, I'm texting him right now. Sent the email with the link. One of the things I like about our show is that we just really raw. We just gonna do it while live and all of that. Send email to you with link. So we're just waiting on him now.
Okay. As
Uh,
far as anime I've been keeping up with, I guess it would be like Re-Monster. I don't know if anyone
okay.
has heard of that already.
Yeah.
I know I've heard of it. I just haven't watched it. Actually, he's here, guys. Let's tell him hello when he gets in at the stage. All right, hold up. There he go. There he go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Jeffrey the Second. You know what I mean? Writer for video games, comic books, and just an all-around dope dude. You know what I
Awesome.
mean?
How are y'all
All right.
doing?
Oh, good. Good.
All right, how you doing, Robbie? Welcome to our side of the table. So you know your boy already. But the girl to my left is Robot Ocelot, the guy with the beard and the scully. That is the runaway vagabond.
Nice to meet y'all.
And
Good. Nice to meet you too.
yeah, these are my friends and co-hosts and people who pick on me and I pick on them. I'm still trying to figure out how me and Vag are friends because he's a terrorist sometimes. Like some of the stuff that we talk about, I'm sitting there like, yo, how do you go to sleep in good conscience knowing that you do these things? Right? And Robot Ocelot is a dear friend of mine. We come from all of us are from the Virgin Islands,
Okay.
right? And well, in some way, shape, or form, because Vag will say, I was born in San Diego. Yeah, okay, you were. You were born in San Diego, you're from California, but you went to school in Tortola, and that counts. Tortola is one of the British one of the British Virgin Islands. While me and Robot come from the island of St. Thomas.
Okay. Nice.
So
Nice.
so this is all, a VI thing. And we just sometimes we talk in the accent, sometimes we give each other shit, but it is what it is. We're a couple of buddies doing a podcast and making
Awesome.
it work. So
Awesome.
so we had Keith Cross in the last episode.
Mhm.
Um, as you can see, Marcus Williams was supposed to be today, but he took his spot. And I was on the phone with them on three-way, and I'm like, oh snap! I'm talking to the legends. I'm talking to the bosses right now. This is kind of cool. um, and we had Bob Carter on
Okay.
one of our episodes too. You know what I mean? So this is pretty much everything in our wheelhouse, um, whether it's be voice acting, comic book writing, script writing. We just sitting there, we having a good time, man. We just talking and chopping it up. We just we one of the questions that I usually ask when we start is what are we watching this week? What
Okay.
new anime are we watching? So um my answer is I'm rewatching Psychopaths. Uh, Vag was talking about zombie cats. What?
No, it's okay. If you're familiar with Night of the Living Dead, so there's a manga series called Night of the Living Cat, where it's a zombie apocalypse but with cats. Is the zombies. Um,
Hey, see, I
so
saw that look on your face, Rabbi. I saw that. You smiled kind of hard.
I mean,
um,
my favorite horror subgenre is zombie movies. So I mean that's right
yeah,
up my alley. So I'm
yeah,
good with zombie cats.
All
yeah.
right.
So it's like a comedy horror. So the mangas came out in 2020, and
Mhm.
later this year they're gonna have an anime adaptation.
Nice. Nice,
Work so
nice.
fast.
I just say, like, God damn it. Why does everything surround zombies? Like,
I mean
I
you
don't
don't
know.
want you don't want my response on that because I could dedicate a whole hour to just talking about zombie stuff, but as long as you're doing
Go
something.
ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess it's one of those things. As long as you're doing something new and creative with it, I prefer that nowadays rather than just kind of a rehash of the typical stuff. And
Right.
the concept that Vagabond just mentioned is very interesting to me. And then something like Train to Busan,
yeah, Train to Busan was good.
Yeah, where the whole concept is like, the elevator pitch is zombie outbreak takes place on a train. And unlike, and then you have this situation of social class dynamics. And so I don't know, like I got tired of stuff like The Walking Dead because it was just zombies versus humans, humans versus humans, humans versus humans, and then zombies would get mixed in.
Maybe sometimes.
Yeah, and they got old. So I know that people get burnt out with zombies, but that's how Hollywood works. They have certain movies that are big for one moment, and then we get the slashers, and then we get the religious horror, and then we get so forth. So zombies are always going to be my favorite. So Zombie Cats, it sounds right up my alley, and I will be looking for that anime. So I don't know, like my friends get probably tired of me talking about Train to Busan or the World War Z novel.
Okay, I was about to say not the movie, because the novel was actually pretty like nuanced and cool, like from the perspective of it wasn't an investigator, it was a news.
No, you're right, like a UN investigator.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
and just going around to different places and just getting their stories.
Yeah.
I was excited for that, and it did not happen.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That we get a proper adaptation, like a Netflix miniseries where we actually get to see those interviews played out like in docu-series style. And I loved it. Like that's one of my favorite books of all time, and especially from a writing perspective, it does something with that interview like style medium, which I think is I don't think it's been replicated since Max Brooks did it. So, but I always tell people like if you see the movie, go back and watch and read the book, or even play the video game. The video game is actually pretty fun too.
I like it when I could see that. I'm particular when it comes to my video games. Like when Hideo Kojima left Konami, and then Konami tried to come out with Metal Gear Survive, and it was revolving around zombies. I was like, really? like you turn what's clearly something espionage and spy into zombies. I'm offended. Like I'm offended. Anyway, so before I get into it, did anybody watch Captain America?
Nope.
No.
No, we're trying to shoot for tomorrow, if that.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So I know the reason why Vag ain't watching it. He said he ain't watch it. He just said I am not watching it. The answer is no.
Yeah. Like I like Marvel and DC, but I'm kind of more like I just want the comics more. Like I'm one of the nitpickers on the movies. So
it's like, no, he is. He definitely is.
Any deviation from like how they act in the comics and stuff is like, yes, I'll just stick to the comics. So
anyway, I think Robot's not watching it because she has to work or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna.
But usually when I go to a movie right now, it's been I usually just wait till like an anime movie comes out or something really has to be pique my interest. So I'll do like the anime movie nights. I did go see Dune. I think the last movie I saw was Dune 2 in theaters. Nice. And then before that I saw one of the Sword Art Online movies. And no, I did see a Studio Ghibli when they did the Studio Ghibli back in theaters last year. I went to those. So I had to make sure I go see Nausicaa because that's my favorite Studio Ghibli film.
We're a huge Ghibli household over here.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to, like it's an AMC, one of the theaters. They do the thing where they do like they show like a Ghibli movie like every month or like every few weeks, like a
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
Is that Regal? I think that's Regal. I'm not sure.
It's
It
probably
could be other theaters too. It's hard to say.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, it's I think my favorites are Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away is number one.
Well,
Kiki's Delivery Service, and I like Ponyo, but the one Princess Mononoke, those are, and Howl's Moving Castle, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Totoro?
Totoro was cool. Like some of the older stuff I
I
came
see.
to later, but yeah, Totoro was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
my girlfriend likes to watch Totoro.
I knew someone who really loved Porco Rosso.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife likes that. She's seen it, so she's more the anime head in our household. So I came to anime kind of more into it when I got married.
Okay.
But I remember seeing the first Ghibli movie I saw was back when it premiered. Back in the olden days. Was when I was in college. Princess Mononoke, and
Okay, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, Princess Mononoke went hard. And then Spirited Away. I think those are the only two I've seen in theaters. Everything else has been like Blu-ray or like streaming. So
Yeah. So my question for you then, as because normally we get like artists that we always talk to as opposed to the writer. So like one of my favorite writers of all time was Walter Mosley. So what is your inspiration for writing as to make you go into it?
Just wanting to tell the types of stories that I was reading. My mom will tell you that she would take my brother and I to like the library all the time. So like every other weekend we were going to the library. So I was reading like choose your own adventure books. I always say as kids, check out choose your own adventure books. Encyclopedia Brown, any science fiction or fantasy that I can kind of get my hands on. So when I kept reading these stories, and it started with books. It wasn't like books led me to comic books, but when I started reading, I was reading a lot of books. Head was always in a book. Then it became like comic books. My mom picking up comic books from like the spinner rack at a Walgreens or on a newspaper rack at a Walgreens. I wanted to write those stories. I wanted to write the stories that I started imagining, and that was kind of at its basic level. I was selfish. For myself, like I wanted to write stuff that I enjoyed, and then it grew into like, well, I hope other people like it, and just it kind of grew from there. But it was love of reading, and wanting to create that started me down the path of writing. So
that's hard. I mean, that sounds like a beautiful story. I got into comic book writing a little bit more tragically. But that right there, that's a dope start. I said, they're like, yo, he's nurtured. That's really dope. That's really, really cool.
I mean,
Robot.
Yeah, hi.
Go
ahead.
No, sorry. I meant to say Robert, but please go ahead. Whoever want to talk, go ahead.
Yeah, no. The only thing I was going to add to that was, it was one of these things where, strangely enough, like when I found out when my dad passed away, and this was a few years ago, like from cancer, I didn't realize. Thanks. I didn't realize he had as much of a creative bug as he did. So it's one of these weird things where my brother is a musician, he's a rapper, event organizer down here. So he writes, in that form. And then I've been writing with like the comic books, the prose, the video games. And like, we think that some of this was, as they say in the Bible, begat, from my father, as far as the creative side of things. And my mom will tell you straight up, like, BJ, my nickname is BJ. She's like, I don't understand what you're doing, but as long as you're happy doing it, that's just go ahead and write. So I think part of it comes from, like you said, the nurturing side of a mom who didn't understand sci-fi and fantasy to save her life. But then my father, who, literally I'm going through his paperwork. He was a pack rat, and I'm finding poetry from my dad. That type of stuff. And in some journals, but I think that I always knew he was like a sci-fi fantasy head, but I didn't know that he wanted to write as much as he did. So I think I would sometimes say that's partly where we got it from, my brother and I. So he does it in his way, and I do it in my way. So I didn't mean to like overstep, but Robot, I mean, what was the question? I mean,
no, I never said anything. I think he just called.
Oh, okay.
He was trying to call me, but like both our names start with ROB, so we just kind of short circuited there.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, so another thing about this, about our podcast, we're like very raw. Like, so we'll talk and sometimes talk over each other, and sometimes do this, sometimes do that. When I go back to edit, I gotta make sure I like beep certain things, and like, okay, we don't want this done, we don't want this said, but we go still put it out. And it's no. I'm feeling attacked. That some stuff I said, I'm sitting there like, I shouldn't have said that. That's messed up. I'm surprised they didn't get on me for that. Like, but the reason, one of the things I was saying that is because I wanted to make sure that when we do this, it's as natural as possible. Like, I ain't want no scripted shit. Like, I wanted us to have fun and be ourselves and have a good time. Like, we just chilling. We talking about movies and comic books here. Like, ain't nothing criminal happening over here. Did you just say I hope?
Who, me?
I mean, so far.
No.
I mean, as long as nobody gets caught, I just.
I want to say, like, Robot, get off of me.
I can't go back to jail, man. We can't do.
Anyway, okay, so we talked about where our writing standpoint comes from, and that's honestly I didn't know that about you. I think that's really a really, really dope thing. At least you were nurtured. Me, I had to, when I got into doing my stuff, I was proving everybody wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So mine was like, where we come from in the Caribbean, like, it's 32 square miles. So a lot of people, we get what we get. Like, what started me into anime was Street Fighter 2 from the local Blockbuster. That when Blockbuster was still a thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Robot, what'd you say what got you into this side with the anime and the art?
Got me into anime. I guess it was partially Toonami, but also I had like when I was at school, it's such a weird story, but when I was at school, I found like a random manga in a desk I was using, and it's called Oh My Goddess, and it was a random like book out of the series. Megami Sama is not as dirty as you think. I don't think it's that dirty.
I'm about to say Vag laughed kind of criminally.
It's
like,
a whole series.
It's a big series.
There's there's the Oh My Buddha, Oh My Goodness, Oh My Teacher, or Teacher Please.
The title. Yeah, that's fair. Hi. What?
Oh yeah, and if you have a cat, they're welcome on the show because they got cats too. And
we got a dog. She's I got her outside, so we're good. We're good.
All right, I'm just saying they're welcome on the show. If they want to jump in and say Harley, you know what I mean? It's all good. Vag, tell them how you got into anime.
Well, like I grew up on cartoons, the traditional, Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, and stuff like that. But I used to watch Speed Racer with my dad, not knowing it was anime. It was just, hey, we just watch Speed Racer, right? And then, but I was one day at my local Blockbuster. I was there with my mom, and I see a VHS tape with a guy holding a giant sword. So I checked it out. This was like 97. It's Berserk. And I'm like, wait, there's cartoons like this?
Classic.
And so I'm like, oh, so it was the first 3 episodes, and I just rewatched it over and over again. Mind you, I did see shows that were anime. It's just I didn't know they were anime, right? It was just a cartoon like any other
Yeah.
cartoon. But I was like, wait, there's shows like this. So then that's like, where do I get more of this stuff? And so that was like, so that's where it expanded from. It was like going to different video stores, going to Suncoast Records, and just whatever I could find. Like, no one's telling you, you know, there's no reviews out or nothing, like, you know. So he's like, okay, the cover looks interesting, and the title, like, okay, let me just buy it and I find out if I like it or not, and that's it. And so that's pretty much how mine came up with. Tanami came later for me. And I think once Tanami came out, that's when other people around my age, I figured they got into anime. But for me, it was like I seen a VHS tape, and I'm just whatever I could find, I'm just grabbing. I don't even know what the show's about until I actually sit down and watch it. And so, so that's
I
why
feel
like
you.
I've
my
been
anime
there.
taste is. Yeah, like my anime taste is completely wild from other people because like there was
He's
no
not
I'm
lying.
gonna sit down and just find this genre.
Hold
What
on,
can I
hold,
find to watch that's different than the American cartoon?
hold on for 1 second. He is a nut job. Listen to me. We at one point in time he let me borrow his Crunchyroll account, and I started questioning my friendship with this man. I'm sitting there like, yo,
Yeah,
like
like
I don't.
I watch.
I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm not afraid. I'm a degenerate. I'm putting it out there. I watch the weird, obscure stuff too. It has a crazy name. It piques my interest. Hey, I'm gonna check it out. Sometimes it's that comes with like video games, shows, and movies. It doesn't matter. I think that's kind of like how like you get the people who make like Zombie Shark or Ghost Shark or was it Three Headed
Oh
Shark,
my
and now
god.
they got
There's so many
Sharknado.
shark
You
movies,
just
I don't really question it anymore.
Yeah, like there's animes where like if you seen Cromartie High School where they're messing with the animation on purpose, where while one character is talking, the animation for his ear, the drawing of his ear, just slowly starts panning out the screen for absolutely no reason at all. And, you know, I'm
That
like,
reminds
oh,
me of
let me
God in
find
a
the weird
Godless
obscure stuff.
World, where it's just like, hi, this is just an anime character's face pasted on someone who's running a backhoe, and you're just like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah,
You
but
see,
I do like my traditional stories too. I grew up reading as well. One of my favorite is The Most Dangerous Game.
Oh, that's
And
a cool
so
story.
mm,
Jordan's
woo!
talking about
I didn't know that.
psychopaths. There's like a certain point in Psychopaths where they reenact the Most Dangerous Game, or there's a guy
Hmm.
hunter as a hunter, he's hunting the humans or whatever. You know, I
Hmm.
just, you know, weird, instead of like all the traditional stories, I like just a vast amount of stories, what someone can come up new or whatever like that.
Well, if you're talking about classics, I love A Modest Proposal. Ooh, nobody knows that
Modest
one?
pro. No, it was we all looking at you like, huh?
I'm not
Darn.
familiar with them.
It's like a piece of satire that's basically just like, hey, so like you know the way to solve the economy? Eat babies.
What?
I mean, look at it. It's a great piece of satire, though. I don't know if you guys
Everybody
had
kind of
the
like
chance to read
stopped and looked at you like, hold up, sir.
it. It's a great piece of literature.
Uh, Robert, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, I mean that's I mean as far as specifically about like anime or
Oh,
just
right, anime. Mhm.
yeah, I mean no, I think that's the thing that I think anime does have over Western animation, um,
Hmm.
the variety. I mean, that's the thing that, and I think the same thing with manga. Manga as compared to what we have over here, and it's gotten better. It's gotten better over here, mainly with imprints like Boom, Oni Press, Image, and then a bunch of like indie publishers. But the thing that I think manga and anime has always had is that if you love sports, there's a manga, there's an anime for you. If you
Oh,
love fantasy,
absolutely.
Right,
So many
right,
anime
if you love
stuff.
right.
if you love slice of life, if you what is it, etchy? Like if you
Ecchi.
into that, like if you into etchy, that's you got that. You got action, adventure, sci-fi, and it's just this. I think that's one of the reasons why it's taken a hold over here. Like you can
Mm,
find whatever you want. So I find myself like my big genre of choice is like sci-fi, but a space opera. And sometimes I feel
mm,
hard pressed to find um science like space opera animation. Then you get something like Scavenger's Reign, and then comic books is kind of limited. So that's the thing that I always feel that manga and anime has kind of led the way with having a variety of stuff that you could get into. um
mm.
I can go from Miyazaki, just kind of chilling watching one of those, to watching something like Sword Art Online,
Oh,
or
yeah,
like
that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
or like Cowboy Bebop. I'm a hip hop
Absolutely.
head. I love jazz and I love old school. I enjoy old school martial arts. And then you add like a space opera background to that. Like
Mm,
you don't see a lot of traditional animation studios, but I think it's gotten better over the years. But yeah, that's why that Crunchyroll account that you have, I think variety is good, especially if you have
Yeah.
um and something like that, a streaming service. So, but yeah.
I have a question for you. How
Yeah.
do you feel about the way like cartoons are stigmatized in the US, where a lot of people just think that's stuff for kids, and people are
Mhm.
like really missing out on some good stories, all because they're just like, well, it has bright lights and lines I can see, so it's got to be lesser media.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate the stigma because you
he just
can,
said straight. I hate it.
yeah, like because and I think it's gotten better. But one of the things that I'll talk about with friends and even my wife is that on, let's say, network TV, most of the animation that you see on those channels are comedies. Like I love Bob's Burgers. I love The Great North.
Fine, yeah.
But it's the thing of like on network TV and maybe even like the cable channels, everything is a comedy. So it's only the streamers that you see taking a chances. So like I think the most recent thing, like example that I saw was like Castlevania. I don't want to
Yeah,
see
Mm,
that's
that
very
live action.
mature.
The second season of Castlevania Nocturnal. I don't want to see that
listen.
live action because of the animation, but even outside of like the crazy fight scenes and the character designs for the demons and the vampires, which are insanely good, you have very good acting. Like these are like the voice acting, the scenes, I think they can kind of hold the same weight as with something with live action. And then you see something
Mm,
like the Spider-Verse, movies. But I would like, and I think AMC has actually done it. There's a series that's on Netflix from AMC, which is a sci-fi cyberpunk thriller, and I can't remember the name of it. But there have been places that have
oh, and
realized.
I got it. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, there are studios I feel nowadays which understand, that you can use animation to tell drama, any type of stories, but I
Hmm.
do still that, I mean, you have a conversation like water cooler talk, you go to somebody and say, hey, did you watch a new Game of Thrones, or did you watch Abbott Elementary? And you're like, hey, that's cool. But if you go up to them and say, hey, did you watch that Castlevania Nocturnal? Then they're like,
We're like,
get your
what?
goofy ass away from me. So that's with the people who don't understand that that medium can be used for to tell a variety of stories. So I think it's gotten better, but I don't think it's anywhere near the level of acceptance that you have in places like Japan and Korea, and even
Mhm.
parts of Europe. Like maybe I'm
Hmm.
thinking more so of comic books when it comes to Europe, because but yeah, it's nowhere near where you have in like like I said, Japan and South Korea. So
Hold on. So I got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of them right here that popped up that says cyberpunk. There's
Pantheon.
Tokyo Over.
Pantheon was the one I was thinking about. It just popped into my head.
Pantheon.
Yeah, Pantheon, and it was 2 seasons, but that's one where it's very low key. But when the sci-fi action hits, it's really good. It feels like a live action drama, except using
Anime.
the medium very well. Yeah, that literally popped in, but like Pantheon. Yep.
All right, cool.
That's it. Yeah, the one I'd recommend.
I think the problem with the West when it comes to animation and comics in general, because I know Japan has their problem. It's like most of Japan's not really into it, but it's like that one district that's where all like the weebs hang out and otaku.
And that's where I'm gonna live. That's where I'm gonna live.
Yeah. Yeah, so but
bring it on.
I think the problem, the solution is because we're like, okay, to be an adult, you got to put away these things and you got to go to work, and I think that's where that comes from. Like, you got to forget imagining things and stuff, and you got to go live this corporate life. I think that's what it stems from. But I think it's changing too with even here in the West with the likes of YouTube. I think I'm part of the people who call it the Iron Age, where so you got people like, hey, I don't need to work for company A, B, and C. I could just produce something and throw it on the internet and see how it goes. Or, I mean, you got the Kickstarters and print on demand stuff as well. But like, there's an Italian film. It's an animated where it's I forget the name of it, but it's basically teddy bears versus unicorns, and they're having this big old war, and it's like and it's Italian, but like you're not gonna find that on TV. Or if you're familiar with Meat Canyon, he's making these grotesque cartoons.
Oh yeah, he has some wild stuff.
Yeah, but he did a monster series where it's like these monsters is like their master passed away, so they're like, okay, let's try to recreate things. And it's like there's different things, and then you got the with Adobe character creator or whatever, now you got people who are like animating their own little cartoon shows. So I think like the more we advance onto like getting away from traditional TV, where hey, I don't have to go to this corporate head and get his approval for my story or show or whatever. I could just, with the resources I have, put something together and throw it on in YouTube, and it becomes popular. Then it goes like we had what was it, the speaking of unicorns, it was like you got Charlie the unicorn or whatever, llamas with hats. They just did another finale for that a few months ago.
Yeah, I forgot the name of that studio.
Film Cow.
Classic. Oh, Film Cow, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's different things out there. You got the Flash skits. They're doing their little shorts and stuff. So I think what it is the more that you think corporate, then it's like real limiting. And then and not to talk too long, but I think the reason why manga and anime kind of surpassed us too is because it's really I'll say this all the time, they're really consistent, right? If I want to get someone new into Spider-Man, right, I have to like, well, don't read this version of Spider-Man, ignore these stories, and you read this series here. If someone wants to get into One Piece right now, I go tell them, go read issue number 1, and then they go number 2, number 3, number 4. There's no no crisscross different alternate versions.
Hold on.
And I think that's the problem we have in like
no, there's some anime where you're just like, actually, what was it, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, kind of like that? You don't want to watch the first season, people tell me.
Hold on for a second. Okay, Robot's right. What he's doing right now, Robert,
he's trying to he's going his full agenda again. Come on.
Yeah, he's sitting there rampaging about the multiverse. He hates the concept of the multiverse, and he will sit
Yeah, I don't like
there and
multiverses.
he will tell you he will tell you everything that's wrong with it, how it has affected his life personally, and he needs to stop.
So I'm a double Dutch in here. I agree with what Vagnus.
What?
I do, because I think that the thing is, like, and this is coming from somebody who's been reading Marvel and DC from day one, but I think that sometimes when you're trying to, and that's why now those I'm trying to think, those characters, those worlds, those stories, they're just IP. And I think that there are really good stories that are being told, but I also think that it's limiting to people who don't understand comic books. That's the point that I think that like I said, I agree with what Vagabond was saying, is that I don't know if I can go to somebody who doesn't know comic books and say, if they come to me, like you said, like if they want to read Spider-Man, and I'm like, which one? You're like, Spectacular, Amazing, Ultimate, this, that, what era? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s now. And then they will leave that conversation. So I think the point that you were making is like with and correct me if I'm wrong, is that with something like manga, which I only got a surface level view of. Like I've watched more anime than read more manga, but there's a starting point and then there's an end point. It's not that for Western comic books, at least for the big two. And I feel that with indies, with like you said, Boom Studios, Image, Black indie publishers, you got a beginning, a middle, and the end. And then sometimes that's easier for people. And then let's just be real. Our attention span sometimes is shot to hell.
Mhm.
So, I'm sorry. Everybody sits back and they're not going to sit and go through 40 years plus of continuity. Now you can suggest a certain run to them and then be like, well, this is a run for Spider-Man, which has run for like 20 years, and enjoy it, but I understand how that can be sometimes overwhelming. The thing that I will give, at least with the MCU, and as far as like the multiverse, the thing that's funny is like I love the idea of traveling to parallel worlds. I write about it. I do a podcast about it, about Sliders, that 90s TV show.
Hold on. You got a podcast too, bro? And you ain't tell us?
Yeah, I do. I co-host two podcasts. One called it's not sliding. What do we call it? Stumbling across the multiverse podcast, which is about a show called Sliders. And then there's another one that I co-host where we talk about comics with Antonio Palmeras, called it's under the Hungry Bleak.
Okay, Hungry Bleak. Okay.
Yeah, but but all that to say, I am personally getting tired of the multiverse when it comes to the MCU. I do feel that they did a good job of like taking all these years of continuity and distilling it into, at this point, 20 plus years of comic book stuff as far as like the movies and the TV shows. But I do feel that the multiverse has become a bit unwieldy and it has become a crutch because it doesn't take anything to have somebody play a different version of themselves. I think they would do it well, but I am ready now for them to get past the multiverse. And this is somebody who loves that concept across science fiction. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I have a question. Do you feel that way because of what happened with Hugh Jackman becoming Wolverine again, or is it because Robert Downey Jr. has come back to be Doctor Doom?
Neither one of those. My thing is, I think as a storytelling tool, it has become it's become a crutch. And I think part of that is, and I'm not going to be one of the people who sits back and says everything post Endgame was just trash. I don't believe that. But I do feel that when you had them building up from the end of Avengers 1 to basically phase 1, 2, 3, whatever. At this point, I don't know which is which. But leading up, you had Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones as this through line. You had something that you could follow. And after Endgame, I feel that with the multiverse, it wasn't as a concrete narrative thread for them to follow, and it got a bit unwieldy. So specifically, as far as Jackman with Wolverine and Downey coming back as Doom or whatever, I think those are just offshoots as far as where I feel things are going. So I personally want them to get to a stage where the multiverse is kind of put to bed in a good way, but then also I'm ready for the mutants. I am ready for the mutants, and because of what the comic books did with the Krakoan age, in addition to the X-Men always being like the franchise that I identified with as a Black male and as a Black comic book fan, and then also with the animated series, I'm ready for the mutants, for them to, because there's so much content within that part of the universe that they can pull from. But yeah, like I said, I like the idea of the multiverse, but I do feel that it's getting kind of old for me. And then, like, for the Brave New World, with Sam Wilson, I hope that has nothing to do with the multiverse. Just being real.
I'm not gonna say nothing. Just go watch the movie, bro. Go watch the movie, bro.
I guess
that's my fanboy rant
for
the day.
I guess the main issue I have, I haven't watched all the movies like everyone else has, but like just strictly like comics or just storytelling in general, because I feel like so for instance, we know Batman doesn't kill, right?
Does
overall,
he not
doesn't kill, even though the way he beats
He's
people
killed
up,
a lot of people in a lot of movies. I'm just being real.
If we ignore the movies and we're just like, if we ignore the movies and like, hey, just his storyline, he does his best not to kill people, right? But then what I feel what a multiverse does is like, well, I want to write about a Batman that does kill, so like ignore, and it comes to like, okay, let's ignore the rules that we established as what Batman's character is, and now I can write a Batman that just kills, or and so it's like, where's the boundary and lines to what the story is, and that's kind of why I don't like multiverses, because it's like, well, then it's basically just the will of the writer just to make up whatever the character does, as opposed to like, hey, we don't have like an established concrete lore that we have to follow.
I guess my opinion in general, I don't really have a lot of strong feelings about the multiverse. As far as Marvel is concerned, it's very exhausting. But as far as just like different people just doing their own thing in their own little writing project, like fan fiction and stuff, cool. That's a cool way to have fun. Everybody have fun, actually. But yeah, I do agree the multiverse is exhausting, but I don't have any super strong like hatred about it. However, Vag, I do want to propose an adjacent question. Where do you start when with dot hex sign?
Okay, so dot hack, you can actually start with any of them. So one of
I've
my
heard that with
favorite
a
series
lot
is
of
the dot
other
hack.
comic books. But you can start with any
Yeah,
of them. Sorry,
so
go
if you're
ahead.
not familiar, yeah, so the way the dot hack series is there's multiple stories happening the same time, and it's a big money grab from Bandai. Where if I'll like so you got the anime, right, which is dot hack sign, that's pretty much starts it off, but then at the same time another set of characters is in the video games. It's what they're going through during these same type of events, and they all kind of like, and basically the more you read all these stories, it puts together this big clue of what the key of the Twilight is, and what the whole mystery behind the series is together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it unique. So they're not like
Okay.
different universes, it's just
So it's like Kingdom
basically
Hearts?
they're different stories. Not necessarily, it's like there's different stories happening at the same time, and to get into it you have to read the manga, play the games, watch the anime, read the books, and that puts together this whole, it's like a basically dot hack is like a puzzle, like a 10-piece puzzle, and one piece of the puzzle is one anime, another piece of the puzzles is other anime and vice versa, or the books, and you're putting them together to complete the whole entire story.
Okay.
Sounds kind of
Sounds
fun.
interesting. Yeah, it does. It really does.
I mean, it's like
I'm gonna pray for
multimedia
that.
or
Yeah,
transmedia.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like
It's
Chelsea. You
if you look it up, it's like one of the first multimedia things ever. Because like you can buy the video games, and the video games also came with the DVD. And when you play the DVD, that's basically the story of what's happening in the real world outside of the video game. Because when you play the games, you're actually playing the games of a character who's playing in the game. And so, but to see what's happening in the real world, that's where the DVDs came in. And like, so it's a convoluted story, but like once you just start piecing everything together, it makes sense, and it comes this whole completed puzzle.
Nice.
Fair enough. Okay. I mean, today is very educational. I'm not gonna lie. Today I learned a lot. I am definitely Robert, I'm definitely gonna need you to text me those podcasts so I can follow them and be a part of the legacy that you are walking towards. We rock with you, bro. Like, you're definitely a dope dude. I'm glad that Tony introduced me and you together. Big shout out to Tony K to Challenges Games. Be there for the Science Expo. When is that expo again? That's next month. What day?
March 15th and 16th.
March 15th and 16th, where Covey Entertainment Universe, us as a brand, as a group, will be there having our table, pushing our comic books and our brand as well. Remember,
before
everybody.
we end, speaking of conventions, you're in Georgia, right? So what for the audience there, because I feel there's a different convention for actual writers and books compared to just going to comics and manga. What conventions do you suggest for like someone that's like, hey, I'm more of a book guy, not into anime and stuff, or I'm there for books, compared to hey, I'm here for comics and stuff like that?
That's a good one, Veg. That's a good one. My bad. Go ahead.
And before I forget, we'll be at the same convention, the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo. So yeah, I'll be sharing a table. The two, and I like that question. That come to mind are, there's one called Multiverse Con. Strangely enough,
I knew it. I said that get him, Robbie. Robbie, hit him with that one more time. The multiverse convention in your face.
I mean, it's a popular term. It's a popular term, and we, like I said, we use it to market or hashtag for our podcast. But Multiverse Con it's focused mainly on science fiction and fantasy. You can find like comic book stuff, but the cool thing is that's mainly focused on books and authors and like. That's an artist, but the big push of that is writing. Like a big part of that is writing. So I would suggest that Multiverse Con, and the second one, which is it's on the same level as San Diego Comic Con, is Dragon Con. Dragon Con is definitely it's a huge pop culture convention, but a huge segment of that is writing. Like there's a writer's track where what I'll do is I'll post up for like 2 or 3 days and just get my lunch and just sit in the same room and just like listen to, depending on if there are other panels going on. But you can network, you can buy books directly from publishers and from indie artists and from writers who have worked for larger publishers, smaller publishers. And but those are the two that come to mind: Multiverse and Dragon Con. And Dragon Con is an experience. Like Dragon Con is like going to Disney World.
It's nerd Mardi Gras.
It's
nerd Mardi Gras.
Yeah, Mardi Gras. It's insane. And the older I get, the more I'm like, oh shit, I gotta walk. But it's but as a writer, that's where like the networking has helped out on a couple fronts. but then learning stuff. But those are the two that come to mind. Yeah, those are two that come to mind.
Next question before I forget. Do you have anything that you did that was your personal favorite that you're like specifically proud of in your work?
Route 3. Route 3 is always going to be my baby. That's
Okay.
the one that got me, and that's the one. That's what I got my start on. It's creator owned series, and I tell people that's what got me in front of DC Comics. So that's a huge one. Another series I worked on has been Changa and the Jade Obelisk for 133 Art and MV Media, because that was the first time that I adapted a prose novel into comic book form. And that was, it was something that it was a challenge, but I succeeded with it. But those are like those two on the comic book front, and the work that I've done with Phantom Galaxies, which is a video game. That was the first time I had worked on a video game. So those are like three off the top of my head
that you're specifically proud of. I'm about to say, like, these things I knew. The thing is, I don't think Robot and Vagabond knew that. The thing is, me and you talked a couple of times already, and you know what I mean. I had to do my own stuff to figure that out. But Robot and Vag did not know that yet. And they're about to say, like, how many, like, your resume must be dope as hell. Like, how you look back and be like, you know what, I made that video game. I helped that video game. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people can't say that. You see what I'm saying?
It's a blessing. I mean, I tell people I've been doing this for 19 years. Once I graduated from college, I started writing for is a newspaper down here called the Atlanta Voice newspaper. Got an award working for them, and then that parlayed into doing the comic book work. For 3 years, I worked full time as a video game writer, and I, knock on wood, that was a blessing. That was a blessing that I know, because between 2005 to 2021, all the writing I had done was freelance part-time. So like I said, I've done work for DC Comics. So that I don't take this for granted. I don't talk my shit. I'm just being honest with you. Like, I just get in, I do the work, and then I go home. Like that's kind of like how I'm very humble when it comes to this, but I know what I can do. And it's something that I've prayed for, that I've worked to achieve, and I will continue to do until the day that I die. That's how much I love writing. But I'm quiet. Like I said, I keep my head down. I work on gigs, and then I cash that check, and then that's it. So, but yeah, it's this whole career has been a blessing. So
that's what's up.
Yeah,
that's what's up. Like, like I said, you always welcome on our side of the table. I mean, personally, me and you, I rock with you heavy because I like you a lot. I like you as a person. You see what I'm saying? More than your creative aspects. Use a dude. I like that. You know what I mean? Dude, quiet. He mind his own business. He just gonna do what he do. I mean, and anybody that's comfortable with themselves as that, you know what I mean, that's somebody you gotta appreciate, because they, like, for me, like, I ain't like everybody else. I got forced into being something. You know what I mean? When I wanted to just chill and mind my business, I had to hang out with the gangsters, because they was the only ones that's gonna look out for me. You know what I mean? But that's neither here or there. You're dope. You're always gonna be dope, and I cannot wait for me and you to collab together on a Kofi project. You know what I mean? Because I'll put your name way ahead of mine. You know what I mean? Because you dope as hell. Like, I rock with this guy. Vag, you got anything to say?
Oh no. Thanks for coming on, and feel free to come back again.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Robot.
And I'll be seeing you at Dragon Con. I'm there every year.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate the wisdom, Robert.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming over here. Feel free to pop by anytime.
Thank you.
You dig? And everybody, thank you for watching our side of the table. This is Jay Guevara, Robot Ocelot, the Runaway Vagabond, and our special guest, Robert Jeffrey II, the man, the myth, the legend. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next episode. Holla.